Hello, everyone. My name is Craig Farron. I'm a Senior Product Director here at D2L. I'd like to thank everyone for joining today. As we wait for a few more people to join, I want to go over a few housekeeping items. First, today's webinar is being recorded. If you need to leave early or you want to revisit anything later, we'll be sending out the recording to all people who have registered after, after the session has been done. Second, we'll have time for Q&A at the end of the presentation to answer all your Pi-related questions. Please note that the chat is disabled, so you can submit your questions in the little Q&A box, which is at the bottom of the Zoom screen. This will remain open throughout the session. We'll go through as many questions as we can during the Q&A segment. And we'll just begin going in just a couple minutes. We're just waiting for a few more attendees to join. We've had a fairly significant turnout for today. Again, good morning or hello, everyone. My name is Craig Farron. I'd like to welcome you to introducing the new and enhanced Product Idea Exchange, otherwise known as Pi. And this is going to be a better way to share your product ideas with D2L. Just before we begin, I noticed a few people have been using, or a couple people have been using the chat. We will be taking all Q&A. We have reserved time for Q&A at the end of the presentation and to answer all your questions related to Pi. Please note that please submit your questions directly in the Q&A box, not the chat, because that will be monitoring the Q&A for any questions, and the Q&A box will remain open throughout the session. We'll go through as many questions as we can during the Q&A segment. And with that, we're going to get started. So again, just quick intro. I'll start off because I guess I'm at the first. My name is Craig Farron. I'm Senior Director of Product Management here at D2L.
Hey everybody, my name is Tommy Oakes. I'm a Senior Product Operations Manager here at D2L. Very excited to be talking to you all about the new Pi pipeline.
Hi everyone, I'm Erica Baldock. I'm the Senior Customer Experience Manager at D2L. Thank you so much for taking the time to join today.
And I'm Megan Walker. I'm a Director of Product Planning in our Product Ops department, and we're excited to show you what we've been working on.
I'm going to give you a quick walkthrough of what you can expect to hear us talk about today. And as I go through the agenda, Julia is going to just launch a quick poll. So if you don't mind just taking a quick couple seconds to answer these questions. So we'll be talking about Pi a couple days ago, I'll say, not Pi today, because we have the new enhanced Pi already launched. We're going to talk about why Pi matters so much to D2L, and then we'll get into the details on what we actually did to reheat Pi and talk about the new guidelines. Tommy here is going to give us a fantastic demo on Pi and submitting an idea, and we'll close with timeline and an ending poll. And of course, as Craig mentioned, we'll take all of your questions, so feel free to keep adding that to the Q&A section of the chat. And we'll just pause here for a quick moment to give folks time to complete this poll.
And Erica, it looks like administrators are winning.
Welcome, administrators. Great participation, everybody. Thank you so much.
Welcome to everyone, but it looks like about 55%, 56% are administrators. So what I want to do is I want to just go through a little bit, and we're not going to spend a lot of time on the history of pie because we could be here for quite a while. And, reality, what's in the past is in the past, and we really need to be looking forward in the future. The net is that we did not, as D2L, did not do a great job in the last few years on pie. We fully understand, some of your frustrations and acknowledge the problems that we had with pie. With this, again, I'm not going to go through all of these details. I think everybody who's spent some time in pie will definitely agree with me. What we want to do is we want to focus in on what we will be changing moving forward. And so that's going to be really the focus of this presentation. But before we get there, one thing that we have not done a good job here at D2L is really publicizing or publishing the number of pies that we've actually delivered. And so when we were putting this presentation together and doing some of our analysis, D2L actually delivered over 80 pie submissions from the previous fusion. And I don't mean fusion that just happened in July, but I mean fusion from July 2024. Quite a number that we've delivered. And we've also delivered, including the number one most requested pie idea, which was print quiz. Moving forward, one of the things that you're going to see more from us, both within pie as well as other things such as our release notes and our release previews, is when there is a pie item, you're going to see an indication that it is a pie item. So we want to make sure that you get more information and more details. It may not always be your pie, but that we are delivering pies directly to you based on your feedback and input, which we really truly do value.
So thank you, Craig. To get into a little bit behind the why behind pie, wanted to kind of bubble up and show the larger picture of what at D2L and many other technology companies call the voice of the customer, in terms of all of the different inputs and channels and ways in which we collect feedback, ideas, research, and everything else that you all are feeling and sharing with us. So we have here this nice little honeycomb, if you will, showing all of the different channels across research, usability, advisory boards, which maybe you all have been a part of. And you'll see here that the Product Idea Exchange, PI, is one single cell in this overarching honeycomb of feedback channels. So it's important to know that Pi is one of those ideal channels, but just also one of them that then drives into how D2L prioritizes, plans, develops, and then iterates upon our product experience. So wanted to really just first show that larger picture, but diving deeper into why Pi really matters to us and why we're so excited about these enhancements is that Pi is the channel that really brings you as a customer close to our product team, and a way for you to not only share your voice with us and share those innovative, new, great ideas that you all have, but also for product managers and D2L to come back and let you know how we are planning to address that idea. That's a big gap that we have recognized in historical Pi, and are very excited to be highlighting with this new workflow that you will see for yourself, that it's a great way to continue sharing your voice, but even more importantly, you will feel informed with how D2L sees your idea, how it fits with our product strategy and plans moving forward. That said, be on the lookout or be ready to not have all pies addressed, as again, our goal and commitment to you is to follow up and let you know where we're going. And that does and will include hearing that we might not be addressing an idea, but we have heard from you all that hearing no is better than hearing nothing at all. And so that is truly a big requirement that we have been moving forward with and excited to share with you with this enhancement. And also this enhancement, this new Pi experience did launch, officially go live yesterday. So I'll be demoing here in a little bit to show you what that looks like. But when you hop off of this webinar, it is live for you today.
So what did we do? We took the approach of reheating Pi. We really tried to lean into the metaphor here. And the objective with this initiative was to rebuild confidence. We've heard from all of you, we've heard across D2L that the confidence was lacking in our product idea exchange program. And that was our core focus with this iteration. We wanted to be able to do that for three core reasons. So firstly, engaging directly with our product team is really, really important. We hear that over and over again from our customers, just coming off Fusion. We know how valuable those direct interactions with D2L's product team are in person, but then also within the comment threads on Pi ideas and within customers collaborating within each idea as well. We want to receive faster updates on submitted ideas. There's a lot of ideas that have been in the Pi system for quite a while. They might have gotten an update a few years ago, and that update's no longer relevant. So we want to make sure that you initially get an answer in a quick amount of time, and then we're regularly reviewing those items. We plan our roadmap here at D2L twice a year, and therefore that's a nice cadence to, at a minimum, come back around and take a look at the things that we're considering and to indicate to you whether we're still considering those, or perhaps they've now progressed to our roadmap, or because of different priorities, it's not something that we're focused on right now. And then lastly, we want to make sure that you have got visibility into how your ideas shape our roadmap. So this is happening within the Pi system as well, but then you're also going to see changes within our release notes on our community to really highlight how your ideas going into Pi are showing up in our product. So there's two things we've done. If you go back one more second, you'll notice two big changes. We've refocused the purpose of Pi, and you'll see that show up in the guidelines, which we're going to go through in a minute. That's going to be the biggest change to all of you, is the things that go into Pi are really, really focused, and we did that to be able to receive faster updates and respond to these more timely. And then you'll see some streamlining of process, but we've done a lot of work internally to make sure we've streamlined this process. So if you go to the next slide, a couple of those look like the same platform. So we're not changing the platform we're using here. We are leveraging a third party you can access directly from our community, but we've really simplified how we've integrated that and implemented it. So similar look and feel. It shouldn't feel new. It shouldn't feel like you have to relearn how to go submit an idea, but we've streamlined the submission form to be really specific on what type of information is going to be really helpful that our product managers can act on and provide some updates to you quickly. Simplified categories. We had around 55 categories before, and now we've gotten it down to around 10. That makes it a lot easier for you to pick the appropriate category. That makes it easier for us to triage on the other side. We've shifted from vote to like. So you can still collaborate and give a lot of love to ideas that you like. If you find that you're trying to submit an idea and it already exists, we encourage you to go and like and collaborate within an existing idea rather than adding duplicates to the system. And then our statuses have been streamlined as well. We have some published guidelines that will really help you take the most advantage of our Pi program. We've done a lot of work on optimizing processes for the product team, and then also for a lot of the other teams across D2L as well. So we've reset our expectations with our customer success managers, our support teams, everyone you interact with at D2L has kind of got this refreshed view of what is Pi, so they can support you in this experience. And then the last thing to keep in mind is we are working right now to move and migrate relevant ideas from our old Pi to our new Pi experience. We've got lots of information on the community on how we're going about building that strategy on what to progress over and what to leave behind. We know there's a lot of really great resources in old Pi, like workarounds and different levels of information. So we're keeping that all under consideration as we build out this experience on how to migrate things over to new Pi and how to make sure that we've got lots of information from old Pi maintained over time.
Awesome. Let's get into the new pie guidelines. And these are really important so that we're able to maintain and deliver a really excellent pie experience for you as well as our internal product team. So in order for this to be a well-oiled machine, these are the guidelines that are going to help us achieve that. Guideline number 1, please be respectful when interacting in pie. Inappropriate ideas and comments will be removed. Guideline number 2, and this is a really important one, focus on the problem you are trying to solve. This is sometimes known as the jobs to be done. Indicate the job statement, your struggle, add some context, and your desired outcomes. I know in the past we've asked for some potential solutions, but we're going to leave the solutioning to our product management team because they really are the experts in this. But hearing what you're trying to do and what you're trying to solve for is going to help them figure out the right solution and deliver the right experience back to you. Craig, you're on mute.
As I was talking away, and thanks, Erica. I think I always get the hard one. So guideline number 3, while good ideas are highly valued, not every suggestion can be integrated into D2L products immediately or possibly ever. The product roadmap is carefully crafted, taking multiple factors into consideration. Validation through research, testing, and technical feasibility is an important part of an idea progressing to a feature in a D2L product. And really what we're saying here is we're going to be more, upfront and more, tell you right away when there is a pie, when you submit an idea that we cannot do, or something that does not fit within, kind of our definition of where our product is headed. But, that may be hard at times, but we also want to be very transparent with you. And I don't think that we have always necessarily, kind of let some ideas that we were probably not going to do, kind of sit out there for a while. We're going to be changing that moving forward.
Guideline number 4. So this has to do with the fact that every idea that goes into pie is not all the same size. Sometimes it's one teeny tiny thing that can be implemented quickly if we're already working in that part of the code. And sometimes it's like a whole initiative that is going to be a brand new part of our product, like CreateSpace, for example, really, really big area that we're working on. So it is that ideas that progress to our product roadmap may take some time to get implemented. And we want to make sure that when we do implement things, we do them with high quality. We don't want to rush it. We want to do it to all of our standards. So we don't provide any set time frame. We do commit to quick responses to your pie ideas and letting you know where they fit in our priorities, on our backlog, on our roadmap. But actually implementing that, we obviously cannot commit to a time frame because we want to make sure that we do that well. We ask that you stick to ideas and not general commentary. So we have seen examples in the past where people just provide their train of thought in pie. And while we love to engage with you in that way, pie is not the place for that. There's some really great places within the community for those broader discussions, for more kind of thought topics, some directional things. We do want comments around ideas. So there's such great back and forth between customers and D2L product managers within comments on an idea, but the idea itself, that should be very specific, follow that jobs to be done format that Erica mentioned, and not just be a whole bunch of different comments.
Guideline number 6, pie is intended for new product ideas. So changes to existing functionality, feedback on existing functionality, or defects should not be entered into pie. And I'll just be the first person to say that we've seen a lot of defects and feedback entered into pie in the past because we've told you to. You've maybe gone to the support team and logged defect, maybe it wasn't going to be fixed right away. And so then someone from support told you to submit a pie for it. And so it's our fault and we're changing that. So we have new direction, as Megan mentioned, to our internal teams, our customer-facing teams, to really align with what should be a pie and what should be, what other channels should be leveraged for some of the other pieces of feedback. And on the next slide, I'll just drill down into a couple scenarios to provide some better clarity on that. Scenario number 1, you cannot achieve a desired outcome because D2L products don't have that functionality. So that's a pie. If you have an idea of something that our products can't do today, pie in the sky idea, so to speak, Tommy loves that analogy, that's a pie. Scenario 2, you can achieve a desired outcome using the product, but you want an alternative way to perform that same task. So we'll call this feedback. We see a lot of ideas in pie coming from this, from users of other like LMSs. So if your organization previously used a different LMS and you were used to working to get that outcome through a different workflow, we see a lot of pies come in for that, saying, I used to do it differently there. Can you change the way you do it in Brightspace? That's product feedback. And although we do really, really value product feedback, those should come through our internal feedback channels. So in this scenario, please contact someone from D2L support or your CSM, and they will log it into our internal voice of the customer channel. Scenario 3, you should be able to achieve an outcome, but cannot. So this is an example of if it's a defect or a bug, something's not working when it should. Our support team has a really robust process in place. So please contact D2L support and they will log that through our CRM, and it'll go to the right teams with the right prioritization to be fixed. And last scenario here, you cannot achieve an outcome. Changes to that functionality are not planned for the roadmap, but it is impeding critical business function. So, this is a trickier scenario. And sometimes maybe you've reached out to support and maybe heard feedback back that this is not something we're going to change. Contact your CSM so they can drive a deeper conversation with our product team. Maybe we need to learn some more information, or maybe there's a greater dialogue. An example of this in the past where we've seen people submit maybe like a really, really great idea, but it's not something that we can maybe accomplish because, say, it doesn't meet accessibility criteria. And so actually making that change would make that part of the product a little bit less accessible. So having that dialogue to better understand the scenario, I find is usually really helpful. So lean on your CSM for that, but hopefully this provides a little bit more clarity and we can keep true pies in pie and then direct other feedback to the more appropriate channels.
So we want to share some examples of what a well-baked pie looks like. So we'll share one here today, and then you're going to be able to find some more examples in the community. We've updated all the pie articles there, and there's some examples of well-baked pies and under-baked pies in the community. We ran a beta program for this enhanced pie pipeline through the month of June and July. And so what we saw for well-baked pies is they were written kind of in two formats. And here's an example of one, which is using that jobs to be done statement. As a role, I need to complete a task so that I can accomplish an outcome. So you can see that in this print quiz example. It's fairly well to understand example, so it's helpful for people to follow. And there's 4 primary jobs that they would like to see accomplished. And you can really understand why it's important to them by understanding the outcome, who we're building for. So this is really well written. The other way to leverage the template in our new submission form would be to write on kind of what is the job, what is the struggle, what is the context, and what is the desired outcome. So we've seen some really great examples of customers filling out like this or filling out following the bullets that are in the submission form. And you can see that the first time you go there.
Thanks, Megan. And I get stuck with the underbaked pie example. So this is maybe, one that we put together. It's not based on an actual submission, but it actually has elements that we've seen from multiple underbaked pies. So a couple things around title. I'm not used to this UI. Category is under D2L Lumi, which is inaccurate. Somebody just kind of selected whatever category that they, saw there on the screen. But I want to draw out a couple things. I was using a custom LMS and my organization switched to Brightspace 2 days ago. The usability difference is huge. For example, in my previous LMS, we had this one page where you could do everything at once. We do not know what everything is, and so it's not in a job to be done format. It was all in one place. I don't get why Brightspace can't do that. We're adding a little bit of commentary in there. Can you create that one page? So here, really what was making this an underbaked pie is that not focusing on the problem, but rather focusing on the solution. So What are you trying to accomplish? What are you trying to do by having everything in one space? What is everything that you're looking for in one space? Tell us basically the details of what you're trying to do, and then let us come back with a solution. It would make my day today so much easier as it's what I'm used to. Also, you need to overhaul your calendar function. So again, one of the guidelines that we have is that we're asking for one idea per submission. This is a little bit of a change for some, and the reason that we're doing this is because we ended up having two, in some cases two, three, four, five different, very different items under one pie, and it gets very complicated because then we get into a partial release. We partially release this pie, but there's some that are still outstanding. So we ask you moving forward is basically one idea per submission. It takes too many clicks to get my job done. Well, how many clicks is too many? And I might also add here as well too, I'm not even really sure which calendar that you may be referring to. So there's a lot of information in here. And again, there's probably something very legitimate around this and something that would be a good idea, but we're getting caught up in kind of maybe more commentary and less of what it is that you're trying to do and accomplish. So that's a little bit of an example of an underbaked pie.
Awesome. Thank you, Craig. All right, let's hop into the demo of this new and enhanced pie experience. So as you can see, I have logged myself into our community site, and the entry point to Pi has not changed. So I typically go through resources down here under the extend. You can also go down under the quick links and click on Product Idea Exchange. When you click on that, it will open you up in a new tab directly onto our browse page. The thought here is driving you to ideas that already exist with the search functionality here to ideally find first or search first to see if your idea already exists in an effort to reduce duplication. As you can see, you can scroll, and this is where you can upvote or like and or comment as you click into these ideas. I'm going to assume that I do not find my idea here and would click on the submit new idea. This will take you into a submission form, which should look pretty familiar, just with new fields. And so we're going to be using the infamous print quiz idea. And as you can see, I've started to type in print quiz, and we have a similar ideas tool that is highlighting things that might be what I'm getting ready to submit. So this is AI working on the back, and if I were to actually not continue with this submission demo, I would open up this idea and give it a like, along with some comments of my actual usability and experience to avoid duplicating an idea. In the case of the demo, though, we'll continue. But again, really important that you all maybe even try some different keywords and see if anything pops up, as that will really help highlight these ideas to our product team and reduce duplication. Down here, Megan mentioned that we have significantly reduced the number of categories. As you can see, we have categories for each product area. Brightspace, since it is such a big product area, does have the subcategory section. So when you select Brightspace, it will prompt for a subcategory to help us understand a little bit more specifically what area of Brightspace are you looking to give an idea. Also, you can see that ideas automatically save, which is nice. When you go up to your home screen, there is a My Idea draft section. So in case you get distracted and have to leave, nothing is lost. Moving along though, into the problem statement with our jobs to be done. You'll notice here we do give some template and direction in terms of how to write a clear job to be done statement. And in this section, we have listed several jobs to be done, which we showed on that well-baked pie slide. Moving along, we really want to highlight the value, that outcome. What is the value that will come from tackling and addressing this idea? So another required field that is very important for our product teams to understand the full scope and the reason and value behind this opportunity. And then finally, how are you accomplishing this today? You'll notice this is not a required field, as there is a chance you are not able to accomplish this today. But if you are, that is very great information to have. So we have that here. And then if you have any attachments, screenshots, things of that nature, you can upload those as well. Then we go ahead and click submit. And you will notice right at the top, your idea is here. You will notice that this idea is currently hidden, and that is intentional, as we want to make sure that Pi is showing ideas that have been really triaged and addressed by the product team to understand, make sure that we're not showing a bunch of duplicate ideas, and then really showing the community and you all the ideas that really have passed those guidelines and are ready for that collaboration. And as you can see, everything else from a usability standpoint is a little enhanced from a design standpoint, but still the same in terms of experience, where you can see all of the ideas that are under consideration. There aren't many here because this is brand new, but yes, lots of different filterability and things of that nature. So getting back, I also wanted to go over the new statuses. So there were dozens of statuses in the now old Pi experience, and we really wanted to make this more simplified and digestible for you to understand where your idea sits and D2L's plans or current state of that idea. So here you'll see gray means it is a private, just as I showed you with the hidden logo. You'll notice that new ideas are hidden. And then if in the case that maybe an idea is not fully complete or there's some open questions from the D2L side, we will comment with some questions and update the status to awaiting customer reply. That will also be private, just to you as the submitter. Once triage happens, the idea will move over into one of these 5 statuses. If an idea is under consideration or on the roadmap, that will be unlocked and open for all Pi users to be able to see, like, comment, etc. Similarly, if it's already been released or we are deciding that this is not under consideration, similar participation, it will be unlocked for liking and commenting. If in the case that the idea is a duplicate or does not meet Pi standards, that will be put into a closed state and kept private. In terms of duplicate, the source top level idea will be open and easily linked so that you can go and interact with that idea.
All right, thanks, Tommy. So where do we go next? If you go to the next slide, we've been on a bit of a journey to get to our launch that happened yesterday. So just to recap where we've come from, like I mentioned, we started with a beta program. And just like we do this for many of our products, we wanted to make sure we do this for this as well, to make sure that we were really focused on meeting that goal of rebuilding the confidence in the program. If you go to the next slide, we've just got a quote from one of our customers who was part of that beta program, and we really thank all the customers who were part of this. It was really, really valuable to have you in there, trying out the workflows, testing, translating ideas from our old version of Pi to the new version of Pi, and providing some feedback on all of the categories. Next slide.
So looking at the other key dates, our feedback review window is still currently open. So if you go to the old version of Pi, you can filter in feedback review window from the status filter. And those are all the ideas that are eligible for a comment if it is still valuable to yourself or your organization. I did see a comment or a question come in around, are people going to be notified if their ideas aren't moved to the new Pi? No, there's no explicit notification. And one of the reasons is because, you know, a lot of those pies, specifically in the feedback review window, some of them were submitted over a decade ago. The submitter may not be part of their organization anymore, or that organization may no longer be a customer of D2L anymore. So we have a lot of, I guess, like stale ideas where no one's actually, you know, like still monitoring them or find them valuable. And so for that reason, we're not going to notify customers if their ideas aren't moving forward. Pi transition mode was in July, so we weren't accepting new ideas for the month of July, but you can start submitting ideas now in the new Pi experience. We're at the launch phase right now. Very excited about that. And in the next couple months, we're going to be migrating all the ideas. So when you go into Pi, I think you're going to see one idea. It's very empty right now, but you're going to start seeing some more ideas moving in August and September. I did see a question come in around what statuses are not going to be migrated so that you can maybe recreate it in the new Pi. And I will say we were very, very thoughtful about what we're looking to migrate and what we're not going to migrate, because we really don't want to lose the valuable ideas, you know, so we're very, very conscientious of that. We do really value everything that has been in Pi. So for example, ideas that were closed in the old Pi, those aren't going to be moving over, but those were already closed. If they were a duplicate, the parent idea or the first idea, that will be moved, but the rest of the duplicates, those won't be moved. And things that were released, for example, they've already been released, everyone's been notified, you know, those won't be moving forward. And that's why we have the feedback review window, because we wanted to make sure we didn't lose things that were still valuable to you. So please, you know, go ahead and comment on those that you still find valuable. And after we migrate those ideas, Pi will go into a read-only mode, because again, we don't want to forget any of the valuable ideas. So if, you know, by the end of September, if you don't see an idea in there that you really, really care about, reach out to your CSM. They'll get in touch with us and you let us know which idea you really care about. And you know, we'll have that dialogue with you. And following those 6 months of read-only, the old Pi will be archived. So we'll still not be losing anything that's in there. PDMs can still go ahead and reference the ideas submitted in old Pi if they choose to. But again, you know, nothing's going to be lost forever. So please reach out to your CSMs and we'll work with you on that.
As I scramble for the mute button again here. One of the things I just want to remind everyone, and we probably haven't said it enough today, we're going to be continuing to iterate and to move Pi forward, and not only just Pi, but other areas as well too of the whole product feedback. And this is really to ensure that your voice is being heard, and that we're taking this into consideration as part of our planning process. So think of this as phase 2, phase 3, whatever phase that you want to kind of look at it as, but there will be more phases to this moving forward. We're not done yet.
Perfect. So we'll take some questions now. I know we've been answering some questions in the chat.
There was a lot of questions around migration. So maybe I can kind of thematically answer some of that. Like Erica mentioned, we want to be really thoughtful about what gets migrated, and we need to be able to achieve the goal of responding quickly, having a manageable amount of Pi items to address. There is an incredible amount of resources within the older Pi pipeline. I mentioned at the top of the call, like there's workarounds in the comments for things that are not planned. that'll continue to be accessible for all of our product managers. The things that do migrate, we want to make sure are things that meet the new guidelines, that they're the right things to continue to have within our PI system. And then there was also questions around how will we be notified? How do you know about them? Will you bring the votes? Will you bring the comments? We will be moving those over. Now the submission form is different from the two versions, so we'll be kind of migrating that into the new format, but the comments will come with it. The votes will come with it. It'll still show up that you submitted it in that version of PI and you're still the submitter. So all the notifications that come with PI will continue to persist regardless of whether it was old PI or new PI. So you're not going to lose sight of those things during that migration process.
We had a question come in around the messages back once an idea is submitted. And I think that's a great question. Thanks so much for bringing it up. One of our commitments to you in this new version of PI is to be much more transparent and detailed in the comments. So regardless of, when we go through the triage process or PDMs do their review, whatever the reason is to either put it on the roadmap or if it's not possible, it's our commitment to you to give you more explanations and rationale why. As I mentioned, it could be because of accessibility reasons that we're not going to be making that change or whatnot, but having that dialogue and giving you that information is going to be a priority for us.
And I've also been answering a number of questions as well too that deal with, well, what happens with PIs that are not moved over? Don't worry, we're not removing them, we're not deleting them, we're not getting rid of them. They're going to be there and available to our product managers for basically however long we have this data, which is, no planned date in the future. Also, as well too, there was a question. I think it was a really good question. I forget who asked it. I won't call out their name, and I forget their name anyway. So sorry about that. But really good question on can a pie that you had indicated is not being planned, can it ever become planned? And the answer to that is absolutely yes. And that has happened in I know just literally probably a couple weeks ago, which is probably more like about a month or so ago, because time moves fast for me. But one of my product managers, Mike on my team, who many of you know, said, "Oh yeah, I'm going back. There's a couple of pies that I'm reopening because at the time it wasn't functionality that we were planning on doing, and this was going back several years ago, but it is now something that we are planning on doing." So again, just because we say no to you at this time or we do not bring your idea over does not mean that it may not at some point in the future come back in. There are some things, however, that we may never do. Like, for example, and I answered this in the question, we're not planning on developing an HRMS, an HR system. That's not in our area of expertise. So that one may not, we're still going to keep it, but it may not be something that's ever reopened or ever reconsidered down the road. I was trying to look for an extreme example. I came up with an HRMS. I could have said an accounting system or something like that.
There's a question around old and new pie. We fall into that trap quite easily, but we are intentionally trying to call this the enhancements, the updates. This is not new pie. That's the easy way to explain the two pipelines you have because it is a new pipeline that you go to. I really appreciate the comment though around like, don't limit yourself by calling this old and new pie. That kind of makes it seem like this is not an iterative experience. We do similar things in our product too. So we appreciate that and really look at this as an enhancement, an update, a progression forward, not the end of where we're working.
A question just came in around the silence of old pie, and I just wanted to pause and give a little bit of some background into the internal experience with Pi. Like, we know that Pi has not been a great experience for our customers, and there has been a lot of silence and delayed responses on our end. But internally, it has been an awful experience for our product team to navigate through old Pi. Navigating through the different statuses, our team had challenges even sorting through which ideas were part of their purview. I know one of our PDMs said that they would export all the thousands and thousands of pies and search in Excel. So it's not that our product team didn't value the ideas, it's that our system wasn't designed to grow with our team. And so it was very, very challenging. And so that's one of the reasons why it was such a poor experience. The question asks about, it doesn't give much confidence that the product team's going to go back to the archive version of Pi. Every 6 months, the team does look at things more holistically and kind of search for, say, I'm going to invest in this part of the product or this tool in the product. They do search, all the resources, all those honeycombs that Tommy had shared earlier for ideas, feedback related to those, and take that into account holistically. So from that view, yes, they will definitely be leveraging this, but maybe not on a one-to-one, here's an idea and I'm going to respond to it. But we've done a lot of work on the back end to make it a better experience for our product team so that it can be a better experience for you.
And thank you for calling that out, Erica, as well too. And thank you for again, it just flashed in front of my screen, the person who added that comment. I understand your position that we're not looking at pies. That being said, we've done a very poor job of indicating to you when we've delivered pies. I've been working with teams updating a number of older items in the background, and the number that we've actually delivered is fairly significant. Now, I can't include these in the last year since Fusion, but there was quite a number in there that we had actually released. We had never updated it in Pi. And part of the reason for that, as Erica indicated, is that Pi was originally designed when D2L was a much smaller organization with a substantially smaller product management team and substantially fewer products. Like Lumi wasn't even considered at that point in time. And it simply did not grow as the team did. And, Erica gave a couple of really good examples of most of our product managers, actually the vast majority of our product managers going above and beyond exporting out information, analyzing it in Excel, and going through your ideas. So, the whole idea that, your ideas are forgotten or not necessarily looked at is not 100% accurate. There is a considerable amount of focus that does go into it.
There's a question on roles. So we did do some analysis when we kicked off this latest iteration on Pi, and we do see administrators as the primary, like system LMS administrators as the primary role that's submitting Pi ideas. They often do submit them as a proxy for instructors or other types of users. So while faculty and other types of users and roles are a smaller percentage of submitters, there's absolutely no problem with them going in there and doing that. As an administrator, you might understand the broader scope of the problem and be able to articulate it a little bit more. It really depends on what it is. So if you think it's appropriate for other parts of your organizations to submit some more Pi items directly themselves, by all means go for that. If you think that you want to try to curate that into a stronger story, that's also acceptable.
And we have occasionally seen as well too. I'm not going to name any names, but we have seen examples where some members or some members in the team, I'm not going to say who, have actually submitted pies, and then administrators come back in and say, no, we don't want that. So, you know, it does always help to curate them a little bit internally within your organization, but we will definitely be, reviewing all submissions regardless of who they come in from.
There's a question about whether you can see who submitted the idea, and you can see the individual's name. You can still not see their organization. That is kept private. We do have some of that information on the back end so we can support our customer success team and keep pulling together all the ideas for any given organization. How are they participating in Pi? How have they provided feedback in other channels as well? So that's information the CSM can help pull together if you're interested in kind of like what has my organization submitted in there. We don't have a mechanism where one person from an organization can see that directly in Pi. it kind of goes along to the next question around do CSMs or others see the idea submitted? Eric, I don't know if you want to answer part of that live too.
Yeah. Sorry, I was just responding to a different question in the chat, but I can take that and respond to it in the chat as well. One thing I did want to just call out is all of our articles are live right now. So if you go to the community and under resources, select product news, there's a updated articles under that pie section. So you can find those examples, one of which Megan had walked through, but other examples of pie. And it should answer all of your questions there.
I'm going to answer a question live here as well too. There was an interesting one, a little bit of trend, something that we're going to have to think about a little bit. Is just questions come in here, and it kind of moves this one out of the way. Is there a possibility to see customer regions so that I can see what my peers are requesting? I think that's actually a pretty good idea. What we want to be very careful on is, not divulging too much information as to who the person was that entered it. But in some cases, I think that there may be things that we can do in the background, not today, but down the road a little bit, where we can give a little bit more statistics as to, the number of pies that have come in from specific regions, what, the focus has been for specific regions. Because as D2L grows, we're basically a worldwide organization now with presence in pretty much every continent, and I forget the number of countries around the world, but it's more than I have on both fingers, or both hands, I should say. So it's quite a number. I think it's up into the 40s or 50s if I remember correctly, but I may be wrong. But definitely, I think that's something that we can take a look at. But it is not something that we would have available right now. But it's a good idea. I like that one. Thank you. So one of the things I'm going to answer another one here. I seem to be picking up all the anonymous ones, but the regular release presentation we receive has convenient pie icons denoting items coming from pie and lists the specific pie items addressed. Perhaps this could be made universal. It's very helpful. Maybe a nice addition would be a short sentence on why D2L picked it to implement this that month. This is something that and for those of you that attended Fusion as well too, there was some research being done as to how we could better present this to you, how we could better show this to you. There's going to be a number of things moving forward where you're going to be able to see, kind of directly, in an area. I don't want to prejudice where it's actually going to go right now, but you are going to be able to see this information more universally available. And, I think the short sentence on why D2L picked it to implement that month, I think is actually a pretty good idea as well too. And that would potentially be in part of the reasoning or the comments provided back by the product manager. So I think that's another good idea as well too. I'll pick up one here. Oh, I see Tommy is answering Charles's question around categorizing, ideas coming in. You're 100% right, Charles. It's going to be something that we have to look at, and that we may need to make some adjustments to, kind of moving forward. But we had to start someplace, and before, what we had previously was a list of like 50 items. I may be exaggerating a bit, but it was way too long of a, well, no, Tommy says I'm not exaggerating, but it was way too long of a list that just was, it was not practical for a customer to come in and say, oh, where does this really belong? It was just way too granular. We know that customers are going to make some mistakes. We know that we're probably going to make some mistakes, and when we transfer it over, to the product managers and say, well, this one doesn't belong to Monica and quizzing, it actually belongs to Natalie and rubrics, or it belongs to the creator team. we'll sort that out in the background. Those things are always going to happen, but we wanted to start off with a list that was much easier for everyone to use so that people would actually use it. Because what we had kind of happening before was, what's the first one on top of the list? I'll pick that one. I know that's a behavior that I do in other systems, and it was something that, I don't fault our customers for doing.
All right. We will keep the discussion going on the community. We really appreciate you joining us today to hear about the changes we were making here, and we're excited for everyone to jump in. As you can all see in the demo, well, you saw a lot of the background ideas that we're triaging, but there's only one idea out there that's visible for all. So we're excited to see that grow with all of your great ideas as they come in. As you leave the webinar here today, there will be a poll, like Erica mentioned at the top. Right as soon as you leave the meeting, the poll will pop up, and then you can just kind of share your experience in the webinar. And we really appreciate that feedback so we can continue to make things better and more meaningful for you. So thank you so much for joining us today, and we really hope you enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you all very much.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you so much.